everyone. I'm Adrian. That's Jay. We're from Audio Excellence Canada. Our teammate, Philip, is not here. I believe he's spending the morning installing and delivering a system for a client of ours. And anyway, we'll miss his sardonic wit. Anyway, today we're going to talk about a speaker called the Sonus Faber Electa Amator Mark III. I'll just give you a little bit of background about the speakers first. The speakers are bookshelf monitors. They're about $10,000 US, including the dedicated stands. I believe you can buy them without the stands for $8,500. The Electa, 2018 was Sonus Faber's 35th anniversary. And so to celebrate, they came up with two speakers. One, the Electa Amator Mark III, and then the other one was the Minima Mark III as well. And the reason why the Electa Amator was chosen was because it was the first product in the company's history to really break through worldwide. So in other words, in 1985, I guess it was, when the company first really started, they made some wonderful little monitors that had some success locally and in Europe and other places. But then when the Electa Amator came out, it just took off. Japan was a huge importer. Asia, just really, really successful for them. And then so they decided that would be one of the models that they would release to commemorate their 35th anniversary. The speakers they look similar to the original version, except aesthetically it's more modern. The tweeter is the very latest version. In fact, it's apparently identical to the AIDA. The mid-woofer is a derived version from the homage and the reference speakers with a slightly different cone. Rated 88 dB sensitivity. It uses high-quality capacitors and inductors, Clarity Cap, I believe, and Jensen inductors. 4-ohm load, rated 40 to 35 kilohertz. Anyway, Jay, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you thought?
Oh, where to start? Jerry's laughing in the background. Oh, where to start? This speaker, I'm telling you, is incredible. And I do not say this very often. This is incredible. Now, it's funny, Adrian, you mentioned that the tweeter is from actually the AIDA, because I listen to the AIDA. That's not even in the ballpark of something I can afford. Never, probably never. So when I hear the AIDA, I absolutely love it, but it's just out of my ballpark of being able to own it. I was hearing the Electa Amators in a smaller room yesterday in the front, and I got the sense that I was listening to the AIDAs, and the sonic characteristic had a lot of similarities to it. Now these are just, not that small, but they're on the smaller side of bookshelves that I've seen. It's smaller than the Cat 43s. The Cat 43s. It's funny because I'm quoting a $2,000 bookshelf speaker here, but smaller than that. So I didn't expect much. Now I heard it in a bigger room before with Macintosh gear, and I was not a total fan of it. I was like, it's okay. And then so I moved it to the smaller room yesterday, hooked it up to the Hagel H190, and I was just blown away. And this is me going in expecting almost nothing and thinking it's gonna be too luscious, not enough high frequency extension, because it's supposed to be kind of like the traditional Sonus Faber from my understanding. So I thought it was gonna be too thick, and so I go in there and nope, none of that. In fact, it does have that slight mid bass. I hate calling it a hump, but it has like a elevation in the mid bass, just like most bookshelf speakers. But it does it in such a natural way that you don't even notice it. Like I was listening for it. I know it's supposed to be there. I was listening for it. I knew it was there, but it was just so natural that you just don't know. It almost sounds like it's just extending all the way down to 20 hertz. And not to mention the tone. No, I mentioned tone because in the previous video I was talking about polk and tone, but I've always been a little bit of a tone freak, and I didn't realize that until quite not that recent, but recent enough, because I play instruments, and when I hear a track, it just bothers me that some instruments don't sound the way I'm used to it, the way I remember, and so when I play piano or saxophone or guitar, it doesn't convey the exact message to me. I can't get emotionally engaged if it doesn't sound like a guitar. Like if I hear a American flugelhorn, okay, I don't want it to sound like a trumpet, and so but often it almost sounds like a trumpet, and that kind of bothers me. Now they're in the same type of instrument category, so it's not too bothersome. But this is there's more extreme cases. On this speaker, the tone was so accurate, and what I mean by that is, and not only is it accurate, it's very engaging. So when you play a saxophone, anyone who played saxophone or any type of instrument, really, there is a beginning to making a note. Like when you blow into the instrument, it's just not, note just doesn't come out. Like it needs to go through the pipe, and then the sound has to come out. So there's kind of like a delay, and that stretch is existent on the speaker, and I could hear it. Like it was giving me anxiety, right? It was like, I was like, oh my God, it's coming. It's like there's no way people watching this is like, he's sick. And what is he talking about? There's no easy way to explain it. But as someone who plays instruments, and if you have the fundamental understanding of music, or composing of it, or mixing and mastering, whatever, if you have any of that background, you will appreciate this. So that's what this speaker does really, really well. And another thing, I thought it was going to be too rolled off. No, it was detailed, there was excitement. So when I played something like Don Henley, my God, I was so engaged. So when I was playing emotional tracks, I was fully engaged. It was so emotional. Beautiful sound stage, of course, a bookshelf speaker, so beautiful pinpoint imaging. It was holographic, very, very good tone. I was fully engaged emotionally. For example, Cry Me a River by Ella, she was right there in the room. Her by Johnny Cash, he was right there in the room. It was incredible. But then when I moved to some more exciting tracks, it got exciting. It got my foot tapping. It was an unimaginable experience. And Jerry will tell you, when I came out of the room after finishing listening to it, which was forced because Jerry had to demo one of the speakers, other speakers, and so when I came out of the room, he was like, "You like those speakers, don't you?" And I didn't say a word, and that's because I played the entire track, didn't skip any part of it, played all the tracks full from beginning to end, because at that point I wasn't really looking to so-called review the speakers. I was just enjoying it. I was fully engaged, and that's very hard for me to do, especially at a workplace. At my home, a comfort of my home, I can be more relaxed, and I can get engaged with it. But this was like, at that point, sorry Adrian, but if a client came in, I wouldn't even know. Like, I was fully engaged, and so that's just all I can say. I mean, I'll go as far as to say that it's not a surprise that it's not a secret that I like Wilson Audios, and Wilson Audio Sabrina has been my go-to speaker and my dream for a while. I think that just may have changed. So I'll just put it at that. Yeah.
Well, we'll see when you get a chance to compare the two.
Yes.
So Jay did a good synopsis of what the speakers are capable of. I've owned the original Electa Amator and then the version 2 of it. Again, if you've had the opportunity to hear early Sonus Fabers, if you love them because of the really rich tone, and some people love it, and some people find it a bit too much. It's like a cup of coffee with too many lumps of sugar. It is very sweet. Rolled off in the top, a little bit lumpy in the bottom end. As a matter of fact, there's a review, I'm trying to remember who did the review of the latest version, the Electa Amator III, where Paolo, the current chief designer, who also apprenticed under the original founder of the company, talks about how if you look at it from a 12-band EQ standpoint, that old smiley face, early Sonus Fabers had a bit of that. And so as part of the homage to the 35th anniversary, they wanted the speakers to have a bit of that, as opposed to a more neutral overall character of the current Sonus Faber products. So the Electa Amator does have that kind of tonal balance, but not so egregious that, as Jay mentioned, you would not enjoy the speakers if you also liked some accuracy and some neutrality and so on. And I think Paolo did a masterful job of combining what he wanted to pay homage to with the sound of Sonus Faber today. So you've got this really beautiful sound, beautiful tone. If you love string instruments, you're going to love it. If you love piano, I'm fortunate enough to have a Steinway at home, and when you listen to a piano like that through the speaker, it's just absolutely fantastic.
Well, just to add on, I think you mentioned a very good point. The way I see it, though, is it's a very good balance between accuracy and emotion. It just balances it perfectly.
Yeah, again, that review, I think it was Soundstage, as a matter of fact. If I can find that review, I'll link it to the bottom, or I'll have Jay link it to the bottom. And the review talked about how the speakers were so engaging and so lovely to him. He ended up choosing the speakers as one of the awarded speakers for the year and product of the year, I believe, for Soundstage magazine. And at the same time, they compared it to a Magico. I can't remember the model. And he said, from a purely neutral standpoint, the Magico was better. Played louder, went lower, let you hear everything that was in the recording, everything that you think that the word neutral should be. And he said, but it was only attracting his head. His heart was not involved at all. And in earlier videos that we've done recently, both Jay and Philip talked about how they love the Hagel. I think we did a Hagel versus Macintosh. And for me, that was sort of like that. And I don't know why. I think each of us responds to sound slightly differently, and I think maybe that's the reason. But for me, Sonus Faber has I've always responded to Sonus Faber with my heart. Even the earlier ones, I could hear how colored they were. Absolutely. There was no question how colored they were. But in spite of that, or maybe because of that, I was always drawn in, always. And for all those reasons, I've owned virtually every Sonus Faber I've cared to own. Perhaps the same reason why I love virtually everything that Macintosh makes sonically. And so for me, the Sonus Faber is a no-brainer. It's one of those things where, again, I kept saying, Desert Island, absolutely, for sure, Desert Island. I take this in a heartbeat.
They look too good for Desert Island.
That's another thing. If you ever get a chance to see these speakers up close, take a close look at how it's made. The construction method, the way it's finished, it's just so good.
Yeah.
And then you look at any other normal speaker that costs just as much, perhaps, or even more, and you realize that everything else is just production line, and this thing, on the other hand, is just artisan.
But I will say this, though. When I had it with the Macintosh, it was a little bit too much for me. At least for me, it was too warm, to a little bit thicker than I would like it. But when I hooked up to the Hagel, to me, it was just a perfect balance between, at least to me, being correct and emotional.
Yeah, and so in direct emails from viewers who've sent us all kinds of feedback, and of course many on the actual video itself, people have asked, well, how come Philip and Jay like the Hegel more and you like the Macintosh more? And I honestly don't have a very simple answer for you.
It's preference.
That and the thing is this, I don't know about Philip, I've never asked him, but Jay plays instruments and I dabble with instruments. As a quintessential or stereotypical Chinese, my mom forced me to play piano. Did your mom ever force you to play piano, Jerry? No. You play guitar. So ever since I was a kid, from I think 4 years old, I was forced to play piano. I thankfully was able to stop when I was 16, but at least formally. But when I realized in high school that girls were impressed when I could play the piano, I actually started to play the piano on my own and started to learn popular music as opposed to the stupid classical pieces that I always had to learn. And then from there, I picked up the guitar and then drums for a little bit. And then, of course, when my kids were young, I did what every good Chinese parent should do, which is to force them to play piano. And you know what? We have, I think, 4 different synthesizers at home, and they still use it to this day. And in fact, my youngest, when she went to university, took one of the synthesizers there as well. So the point is, we're all quite familiar with what instruments should sound like, and for me, what draws me into the music, in one of the videos we did with the Magnepan .7s versus the LRS, and both of them preferred the LRS, and I loved the .7. I went into some detail about how it kept drawing me into the music, much like what Jay was saying, how the Hegel and the Sonus faber drew him in. For me, for some reason, my emotions get pulled in more with the Macintosh than with the Hegel. But as I've also said in the past, I think Hegel makes some of the finest solid state products out there, and I would have no hesitation recommending it to anybody who was in the market for something like that. So, any last words before we?
Oh, I mean, I could go on and on and on about how much I love these speakers, really, but just from a musical standpoint, I think it's safe to say that this speaker is one of the best in terms of at least tone that I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I've heard quite a bit.
Yeah. And that's why in the store we have the products that we have. We have Wilson Audio and Sonus Faber, because those are the 2 speakers, interestingly enough, do very different things. But what they do so well attract me like no other speaker has and continues to have. And so and that's why those are my personal favorites. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up now. If you like this video, please subscribe and turn on the notification and share the video. And if you have any questions, please list it at the bottom. And we'll see you again in another video. Thanks very much and take care. Bye-bye.